how can I tell? There it is. Okay, guys. So welcome back to possibly the last Tejano Talks for this 9 weeks. Today we are honored and privileged to have a very, very special guest. We have many special guests, but one in particular is Mrs. Sharon Arteaga. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love hanging out with people about the age I was when I fell in love with cinema. So I'm very happy to be here.
Well, talking about the age, I love this. I kind of wrote this. I don't know where I found it online, but I remember the same little quick bio when we saw your film over there at the Laredo Film Festival. Sharon Arteaga is a first-generation Mexican-American filmmaker from Corpus Christi, Texas, who convinced her mom to buy her a video camera instead of a quinceañera. Now, again, guys, for us, cameras are a little bit different in price right now, but back then they were significantly more expensive. And I just love the choice and in like, kind of being different and being artistic. And it's like, okay, do I go for what everyone else goes, or do I go for what I really, really want? So I love that. I will put this again on at the end. That's her website, her Twitter. This is a film. And I just found out what the hearts meant. The hearts are where it has place. So thank goodness we have a lot of hearts here. So I'm very proud and very happy and very more so that you can be here with us and share your knowledge and your insight. So absolutely fantastic. I love this scene. Okay, let's go ahead and keep it moving. So we usually try to get a teacher. In this case, we got a director. We're very, very lucky to have you guys here. But we also have two alumni members, Alyssa Perales and Dean Contreras. Say hi, guys.
Morning. Afternoon, actually.
Afternoon in this case. And then we also have, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 Leos, but 4 audio video students that are currently in the program. I think we have only 1 senior. Casas, you're the only senior?
Sayra was also a senior.
Sayra, oh my goodness.
I'm a senior.
Yeah, so we have 2 seniors and 2 junior sophomores. So, okay. All righty, guys, let's go ahead and get started. This time, we were all expected to see both La Bamba, and we were very lucky to have 2 special showings of Plain Pretend, which is Sharon's film. Okay, I'm going to go through, I believe, Plain Pretend first, and then I'll be mixing it, cross-referencing it with a little bit with La Bamba. There's some stuff that's kind of, these stories kind of connect sometimes, not them directly, but the overall theme, I guess, a little bit. Okay. So one thing I love about Plain Pretend, and I love about the Selena series as well. When we were because we discussed those, I love seeing films that kind of reflect either like cities from Texas that I know. It's like, oh, McAllen, Texas. Oh, the checkpoints. Oh, Laredo. I literally looked up that band that with the beautiful mullet, that guy that Los Lobos or Los Crazies or whatever from episode 4 and Selena. I was like, I didn't know about that guy. It feels nice to see yourself reflected. Let me see. It says your own clothes. Well, I'll just talk about that real quick. What do you all think about when you see films that kind of reflect the true you, not a veneer you, but the you that you see, around town? I guess kids that are currently in the class right now, how do you feel when you get to see yourself reflected on the big screens, Casas or Saldivar?
I'm in that movie, A Country for Old Men.
Ooh.
You know how that movie takes place in there's something to take place in here in Eagle Pass and in Piedras.
Yeah.
So the first time I saw that, I was like, wow, like where I'm from, like I've never seen it like on the big screen, so I thought it was really nice.
Specifically, now I'm kind of going to the beginning of the Bamba. There's a scene in La Bamba where there's migrant workers, field workers, or possibly even sharecroppers. They're all like, I got to grow up like that, and I got to live in Los Campos, as they called them. They were not tents, because in this one they showed them as tents. There's a lot of communal living, showers, tents, cooking. It's, to be honest, after being in isolation and COVID, I saw that, and even though they looked all tired, dirty, and sweaty, I looked at it and I was like, man, that's really nice. I don't know. There was this sense of togetherness. There's campfires, music, sing-alongs. And one of the biggest things I think that we really miss right now during COVID-19 is that they didn't show this there, but it's assumed. And I saw this also in your film in Plain Pretend, Miss Sharon, is uh, that there's this moment when they're about to take off somewhere, and then one of the young ladies is a little afraid, and she's like, hey, do you mind, tell the aunt, doing a little prayer with us real quick? And they all kind of get together and they pray. Casas, you've had some experience working in the fields, actually, right? You're one of the few still existent migrant workers. Can you tell us anything that kind of stood out to you from your experiences as a migrant worker, or from the films themselves, or just shared experiences with other people working together?
Yeah, I've always seen it portrayed in movies, like also like in the Cesar Chavez movie, like you would see all these migrant workers. And, like I never thought like that would be I would like be in that position myself until like a couple years ago when I worked there. And yeah, like you understand like this is hard work, and these people like who are coming from Mexico, they're doing the work over here that most people won't do, and it makes you feel proud for that culture.
Absolutely,
that you're a part of it.
Absolutely. The other thing I was going to go with that was in suffering. When you suffer together, or you're hopeful together, you kind of lighten the burden on one another. One thing that COVID, one of the many things, I'm preaching to the choir, I am aware, but one of the many things that COVID's kind of taken away is suffering with each other. We all now suffer alone behind an icon, which there's just a letter and you don't see who's there. And those, I do miss those experiences. Granted, I'm glad, we're all trying to get into different industries. We're not just going to stay there. The Chicano Hispanic movement and people have been getting educated, thank God. But I don't know, this is something I thought was kind of interesting. Okay, let's keep it moving. Close. Oh, I thought this was very interesting, Miss Sharon. It says, you start talking about, because it's almost like a whole production. The aunt, she helps them with the clothing, with the speaking. Let's see where else. It's almost like a whole production. She's working with the hair and everything. I really liked how all in one that lady was. Like, she was the big deal. What a powerful pillar to that family. And she's not even the mom, she's the aunt or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely I love her. Has she come out in a couple of your other films as well?
Yeah, she was in a film I produced in college, but then she played my mom in the first film I made after graduating from film school.
That's fantastic. And gosh, I there's something about her look and obviously the way she acts, and I don't know if I see like past strong mother figures, but I see it transcend through the screen, like that strong mom presence. I guess I really appreciate. I think you did really great in choosing her for this film.
She's from Brownsville, and like I'm from Corpus Christi, so like a lot of my stories are about South Texas, growing up in South Texas, and so I wanted to work with. I've loved working with her because she just gets it, like she was channeling her tias.
Yes, I saw that. I felt that. I felt it through the acting, through the lighting, through the writing, through everything. The way she spoke so well. She, English and Spanish, beautiful.
I have to agree with that, because one of the things in films specifically, sometimes you don't see that family dynamic and like that matriarch that the Mexican households do have. The mother, like you said, is the strong pillar at most times, because the dad might be working away or isn't there. So it's like the mom truly does take on the role of like the family leader. And seeing that, like even in La Bamba, where the mom's trying to be there and like trying to still make the good decisions for them, and they're going off and stuff like that. Like seeing that is like, that's true reflection of our culture, because that is in the household. That's not just like the low riders or the stuff like that. That's reality for everybody.
I love that. And I've seen it even in TikTok. That's a little playful. My wife has seen that because she's experienced that herself. It's like, why do you, what was the meme? It was something like, why do young ladies, they're already in their 30s or 20s, still talk to their mom or ask for permission? It's like, I have a Hispanic mom, yo, you don't get it. Like, she's always going to have something to say, and I will listen, I love that. Actually, now jumping back to La Bamba, I really, and even before COVID occurred, guys, I've seen, and Sharon has definitely seen, we've seen life before the internet, and then we've seen life once social media and the constant, it's always on your phone, the constant checking in. And I've kind of seen people having lunch together, and they're all like atomized, they're all to themselves. And plain pretend, you see the connection, they're all together. They're not only are they together, they're putting on a production, they're making it feel like, okay, we're gonna go, this is a plan, it's a choir, we're gonna do this. And and with Richie's mom, I really love that one moment where he finally got in the silhouettes, right? He's in the silhouettes. I'm in the garage band. People don't get garage band. Like, that was a thing that people did. Like, they had a band and they performed in their garage. It's not just a software. And I love how Bob was there in his motorcycle, seeing from a distance, and the little girls were there too, and his mom was there, supporting him, waiting for him to perform. He didn't perform, of course. But I loved seeing that, and I loved how together and everyone made time for that. Do you notice that, Miss Sharon, as well? The possible disintegration a little bit of family bonds and people being together and making time for one another, Miss?
Yeah, I do feel, with technology, yes, we all kind of separate into our own little world. But I think something I love about living here in Austin is that I still see a lot of that, like, chosen family kind of being made. And then there's a lot of collaboration that happens here. Like, my mom came to visit me not too long ago, and I was putting on an event, and she was just completely amazed at how, like, I put out a volunteer call and people showed up. And then, like, when people would show up, they're like, oh, I'm good at lights, I will set up the lights. And someone else was like, I'm good at making, like, Jamaica, like, let me mix up, and then everyone's gonna have some. So I don't know, I still get to, well, before COVID, of course. Now people come together in a virtual sense, but still, I don't know, I still keep seeing a lot of the events I went to this week over the internet. I felt like there was this thirst for people to connect with each other on a deeper level. And that's hopeful,
I like that. Yeah, that's humanity at its best, and I'm glad that that you are seeing that, and you have seen it even pre-COVID days, that people were still being tight and giving time for one another and making the space for one another. Let's see if we can keep going. I love the pronunciation issues. Chess, the whole snacks. It says, I love the jokes too. Todavía te pareces a Doña Florinda. Even those little small things I think are so cute. And something I didn't realize was very close to that scene. And I don't know if this was on purpose, but the song sounds very much like a whiff to Shakespeareito.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose?
Definitely on purpose.
Yay! Okay. Yeah, it was very...
Yeah. I love, like, if I could work... I actually wrote him a letter before he passed away, because I was going to be in Mexico, and I was like, please let me meet you. And my request got declined, but he is one of my heroes.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know this. My wife told me. I'm sure maybe all of y'all already know. I shared the story with a couple of you, but just in case, I did not know that they called him that, because it was like saying Shakespeare, but little.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Shakespeareito. He's like our version of a great writer. That's here amazing. In Mexico. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love sharing that whenever I can, because it's like, wow, because you kind of see him for the silly stuff, but it's like, that silly stuff takes it's clever writing and la vecindad y todo eso, like those characters, el girafales, ese soy yo.
He created icons, and that's what I really appreciate. And there's a part of me that hopes that at some point my characters become icons or something.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the best things as an artist, or all of you kids, especially as well, right now all the tech billionaires and trillionaires or whatever are trying to find a way to, like, the perfect thing to live forever. And the only way I feel the true way of doing that, transcending your body, is through art, through beauty, through writing, through your human essence in its fullest form, as exampled by the work that you produce in this world. That can outlive you forever, you know. And I think that's something worth striving for, because what a blessing it is to be alive, right? So how lovely. Let's see here. I'm trying to go through I love the prayer. Okay, now I'm going to go through La Bamba real quick. We talked about the migrant workers, the silhouettes. Did someone has a hand? Do I click that here? Oh, I thought someone clicked.
Can I talk about
There it is.
something that
Yes, go for it.
really
Go for
stood
it.
out to me while I was watching? It was this like tiny moment when they were watching the news and they were talking about how all the borders were gonna close down and get tighter in security. And the girl, like, her shoulders slumped, her mouth was a little more ajar, her eyes were sad. I thought that was wonderful because I felt an experience very similar. I'm a first-generation immigrant, and I was going through my process during the Trump administration. So the moment that Trump was elected into office, my dad, I remember this moment so clearly. My dad was sitting down at the dinner table. His head was down. He was thinking. And I go up to him, I was in 8th grade. I'm like, what are we going to do now? Because everything's going to get tighter. They're going to check everything. It's going to take so much longer. Like, the only thing we can do is pray. The only thing we can do is try.
Wow.
And what I think is kind of interesting about all these stories and what Sayra's talking about, because we've gone through that as well. It's like the perspective and understanding that I think film is able to explain is you're able to see perspectives that you would have never seen otherwise. Now, I love seeing cinema from across the world, and this isn't limited to us. This isn't our story alone. And there are better and worse stories. There is no good or bad guys. People will go trying to get into England, Europe, etc. There's a lot of things that are occurring, and it's just human beings trying to. One set of human beings, I think both are trying to do good overall, but especially the ones that are trying to come over. And I love how you put this, Miss Sharon. There's this one scene when, just like you were talking about, beautiful, precious, innocent kids, and there's a fence, and then there's this real cool scene where it's the tall young man, Samuel, I think, Noah, and then Pilar, and it's like they're just nice, clean cut, dressed up beautifully well, and then you could see in the foreground the chain link fence as well, right before they cross on and over. It's only there for like a split second or maybe a second and then a half, and then it's like. But see, you see the reflections of current history and current things that are current events, and that are a little hard to talk about, but especially now with everything that's going on with kids and the traditional route to success. It's like it feels a little taboo to point out the obvious. It's like, wow, that really feels different, but ignoring it doesn't make it go away. It still is. So, real quick interjection here, guys. I wanted to talk about the garage, the band, the little girls, Richie. Oh, I thought the overarching story with Richie and his brother Bob was rather interesting. Bob is someone that I love that guy. I think he's kind of funny. Looking back, there's a lot of very questionable stuff that was shown, obviously. but I've seen, just like we said, we've seen that aunt, that powerful matriarchal being. I've also felt like I know that guy. Like that guy used to be, my XYZ, and he'd give me a hard time. And as an adult, I can see now, like, oh, like he's going through some stuff. But when I was growing up, it's like, you're just being a jerk to me. And it takes a special person. Let's see here. Dean, Alyssa, or Saldivar. What y'all think about Bob's character, the brother? Not Bob Keane, but the brother. You ever run into folks like that? Or I actually kind of miss those folks a little bit. I do. It's like, oh, they kind of spice things up. It's like, at least they're that. I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree with that though. It's one of those things where as much as that person needs the help for our own like life, that's kind of needed to gain that perspective on like, oh, okay, well now I know where I am at and I know he's still my family. Cause like at the end of the movie where Richie Valenzuela is a hard time over there, he has a cold and he's at the end of it and he's like, I really need family. He still called his brother. It doesn't matter what happened, he still calls his brother. So it's like he still needs people like that in your life, despite everything.
What about you, Alyssa? Do you ever? What do you think about their? It's a very delicate situation. What do you think about like the love, like that guy's perspective of love? Like he feels he doesn't have it, and he feels that el bebito or the young guy or whatever Richie in this case does, and I don't know. Do you think what do you think about that perspective as a whole? Whoa, what happened?
Two Deans now.
Where? Oh, there he is. It's like okay,
wait,
yeah.
Can you hear and see me or no?
I can hear you and see you. One of you is frozen though.
Well, that happens sometimes.
As for the relationship between Richie and Bob, I can say I love the redemption arc that they have at the end, the little moment where they call each other and things are kind of resolved before anything happens to Richie. And I just don't condone Bob's behavior towards
Rosie. Oh, that's so brutal. Yeah. Oh, even and then there's a word there that he mentions. It's like, gosh, and unfortunately, that word I try to share that. Whoa. I tried to share that scene with my wife because for some reason I thought it was so funny when he's like, Richie gets the news like, hey, you're gonna get recorded, and oh my god, and then it's like, oh yeah, well, Bob has some good news too, and then he's like, and I just, oh my god, Bob, like, take the win. It's like. You remember that art competition, man? Well, I won it. 500 big ones, and I just feel for him because he himself, it feels like he just hasn't accepted himself. And I mean, it's like, dude, you won a competition, you got all these art supplies and classes, like, take the win, Bob. But anyway, unfortunately,
I love Bob. I think he's one of the best characters of cinema. Like. I was studying La Bamba at some parts of making Plain Pretend, and I think the last time I saw it was probably in 2018 because I really love the colors in La Bamba, but I'm supposed to be studying colors, and instead I'm just like, oh my goodness, Bob! Like the performance is just spot on, and there was the scene where I guess Richie bought the mom a house or something, and she's like, she's like, this is better than Queen for a Day. But they cut to Bob, and he's kind of just like in the shadow, like looking really over, like someone stole his thunder, but really hurt. And it's just such an amazing performance. I love him. But I think it's interesting what he symbolizes in a lot of ways. Is like, I mean, even with like. He is much darker than Richie, just in melanin, and it's just kind of like Richie is a little bit more easily able to assimilate and like fit into the culture here. But Bob is really starting from like way down here, and like any of his victories are not going to be as big as Richie's because there is that difference, like visual difference.
I mean, even in the first scene when they both come out, he's with the black leather jacket and he's wearing the white beater, and it's like that's literal the yin and yang. One's the dark, the black sheep of the family. The other one's going to be the superstar. So like that's even shown within the film itself.
And there's this added, because I've seen that happen a lot in families as well, and here, and it's like the movie starts off with him kind of saving the day, him being the cool one, him, hey, what are you doing with all these dusty partners over here? Like, come with me, and it's like, oh, he's the exciting one
with a lot of money.
Just like random, and it's like he wants to still be seen like that, and little by little, the purity or the talent and the good kindness and goodness of Richie, he's steady Eddie, just consistently himself, and he kind of goes through some bad stuff. Poor Bob. Let's see here. I had a cousin. I had a great conversation with my cousin from Idaho about this. When Bob, it says here, Bob is not a good guy. / slightly broken. Bob's own friends believe he's out of hand. The fighting is heard from all around as they live in a trailer park. I remember I grew up not in a trailer park, but I grew up in a little mobile home in Idaho, which is kind of separate. But my family, my cousins and stuff, were in a trailer park in Idaho, and I loved visiting them. It was so cool because everyone was real close. But we had a conversation a while back where he's like, he studied, he's an administrator, and I'm over here, I'm a teacher. And he was talking about that, like, man, it's crazy where we, kind of came from. And he was talking about like, we saw some bad fights, growing up. And it was kind of crazy to see the film. Was like, man, you can't hide. Those walls are thin, paper thin, and so everyone would be aware. And so anyway, let's see here, Richie.
But I mean, it shows too that those experiences could literally happen to anyone. Because I mean, granted, he passed away at 17, but he was going to be a superstar. He was going to be up there, and it's like, he too lived those experiences just like anyone of us.
Yeah, and I love that. One more thing about Bob and this character. Sorry, there's something. Well, both of them are artistic, and even as he's picking up the trash and all that stuff, like he stumbles across those Woody Woodpecker things. He's like, "Oh, these are actually valuable." These are things. The other guy's like, "It's all trash. Just hurry up, Morales." And there was something there, and I think as an educator, sorry guys, but as an educator, people like that, like you, I feel a very moral obligation or responsibility. It's like, oh, we got to help them not only find it, but find that spark in them, but help them find it fast and help them develop the attitudes to really develop it. Because if we can do that, they have a chance. Otherwise it just slips, and the machinery of the current economic system that we live in will bulldoze us over. Let's see here. Richie starts dating Donna, gets recorded by Bob Keane. Bob then gets discouraged by his girlfriend with regards to him being an artist. It says Bob Keane chooses America. Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of Americanizing his name, Bob Keane chooses to Americanize / Frenchify, because one of the radio hosts thought it was French, his name to Richie Valens. Richie doesn't like it, and the brother doesn't like it. You see this in Plain Pretend. You see this in a lot of day-to-day and a lot of Showtime people. Jon Stewart, one of my favorite stand-up actors and comedians and stuff like that. And even in the production of The Ant with the kids, there's always this thing like we have to look a certain way. We have to be accepted or something. We have to, this is where we're going now. So it's like, sound a certain way, look a certain way, be perceived in a certain way. Those of you, can I ask this? I'll be honest, and I shared this in the previous Tejano talk. When I was in San Marcos, and I'm curious as to your experiences, hopefully not reasonably positive, but I'll share mine. When I was in San Marcos for a long time, I really missed my language. I never cared for Spanish before. I never cared for it until I was away from Eagle Pass. And I was away from Eagle Pass, and it's like, oh my God, like I would see someone else that's slightly more melanated, and I'd be like, hey, talk to them in Spanish, and they're like, what? And it was very confusing for me because it's like, you look just like me, bro. Why don't you know Spanish? And I started getting homesick, and I started going by my name, Francisco. What have y'all's, Perales's or Dean's experience? What has your experience been like as you leave? Have you gotten more into the Deans or Americanizing yourselves or your names, or are you just yourself? Is it very accepting, or I don't know? Is there a social pressure, let's say, social validation?
I also miss the language and the culture in Eagle Pass whenever I'm in Austin. And what I started doing as like a way to circumvent that was to start watching more Spanish language movies and shows.
Nice.
And I just started immersing myself in that. And even though I'm not like super good at Spanish right now, it gets better. I know a little bit more of the language now, and it just reminds me of home. It's absolutely, it speaks to the importance of having that representation on screen.
Yeah, and I love being who we are, because sometimes we feel like we're not fully all the way Americans, right? If you go further up north, but you're not fully all the way Mexican either, because it's like if you go further down south, and it's this weird feeling of like not fitting in. But through the Tejano Talks, I feel like we got to be both and be proud of being both and be both like 100%, you know, and I'm proud of the language. I'm proud of the music. I'm proud of the accordion, of the conjunto and the Garcia brothers and all that stuff that we have. So, what about you, Dean?
I agree with that. I have something in my hand. I'll show you. It's a fanny pack of Loteria.
Oh!
And I wore it on campus the other day, and I got
that.
some looks, and only one person was like, "Hey, man, that's pretty cool." And a little bit of me was like, "Man, why didn't he say that in Spanish? That would have been so much better if he said it in Spanish." But I was like, I'll take it, right? So definitely just trying to embrace what we have already, like in other areas, because like within the Plain Pretend, when she has that accent, I was like, I miss that.
Yeah.
Like, as funny as it is as a Hispanic or Mexican, like how strong the accents are, like when you're like derived from that, like when you're taken apart from it, like you don't see it, like you miss it so much. So seeing in the film, I was like, oh, I forgot that exists a little bit.
Yes, a la HB. Claro que sí. I love that stuff.
I get that feeling of disconnection a lot now, because when I first moved to the United States, it was just exploring my surroundings. I remember one time in 5th grade, I think it was 5th grade, my teacher was eating a snack. She was eating apples with peanut butter, and that just baffled my mind. Like, why would you put peanut? Why do they put peanut butter in everything? I was baffled.
I like it because it's very dry. I feel that the apple kind of like, you know,
offsets it.
A little bit.
And then when I go back to Mexico, my cousins would be like, no, tú eres niña fresa, tú eres de Estados Unidos.
I'm telling you, so it's like they don't let you be anything. So it's very like, so that's what I'm saying. Be proud of being both, even though sometimes it feels like you're not all the way American, or no, you're not all the way Mexican. It's like, be both. Be proud of being both. Own it, y'all. Own it. What were you gonna say, Dean?
No, yeah, I was gonna say, like, putting lime and everything. People will, like, when I'm in Eagle Pass, people are like, "Nambre way," like stuff like that, right? But when I'm over here, they're like, "Oh, you're Mexican, right?" I'm like, "Well, a little bit." Like,
that's so funny. All right, okay. So Richie's a little bit depressed because the rejection from Donna, not directly, but through the parents not accepting of him for whatever XY reason. Bob's like, I should have done this a long time ago. He takes him to Mexico for good time, let's just say. Richie discovers La Bamba, quote, as performed as a folk song. Well, I don't know if he had already, it sounds like he kind of had some awareness of it already. As a folk song at a sketchy place, let's just say. Simultaneously, Rosie is giving birth in the American side. Oh yeah, by the way, they're in Mexico, right? So Richie wakes up in a shaman's house / curandero / healer. And it turns out that the shaman is Bob's spiritual father figure. They have breakfast with him, and it says, oh, that's where you really discover. Yeah, Richie, speaking of not knowing 2 languages, he does not speak Spanish. He does not speak Spanish. He doesn't understand him. I'll take, you always have very profound things to say, Saldivar. I'm curious. Were you able to see the film, or you know what? It doesn't matter if you saw the film. Just check out this quote. El vivir es dormir, el morir es despertar, as said by that shaman. El vivir es dormir, el morir es despertar. How do you feel about that? What do you think that was talking about there?
That's like throughout all your life, you're always trying to find, at least like this is what it means to me, right? Like this is how I interpreted it. Throughout like your entire life, you're trying to figure out what makes you you, even though you're like the most you can be because you're you, right? So you're getting all these things from all over the place, getting information from places you didn't even know you got inspired from. And then like right at the very end, when you pass away, people remember you for what you were, even though you're just a conglomeration of everything you consumed and everything you saw. So like, well, that's kind of how I interpreted it, if that makes like any sense at all.
No, I like that. Saldivar joined us and Miranda, there she is. We do mindfulness meditation, Miss Sharon, not bragging. But we have a little time where we just 10 minutes. It's like, all right, we're just going to sit here and breathe. And then it's guided. And then one of the things it said is that there's wisdom in silence and you know, kind of discovering yourself and, you know, just figuring out who you are. And actually just listening to this again, el vivir es dormir, el morir es despertar. I almost feel that's talking directly about Bob's experience, not seeing himself or Richie or the relationship all that well. and then, or letting go of his own ego, right? He didn't control it. And so he's kind of just sleepwalking through life because the ego is in control. And then you have
Or
to
in that
kind of,
instance, it could be his addiction to alcohol and everything.
and then you have to allow that piece of you, not entirely, but that little piece of you to die in order for you to really wake up and be like, whoa, like I was ruining my own life by my own accord. Oh, did anyone say something? Oh. Okay, anyway, okay. All right, so Bob Keane is preparing a touring guide, discovers that Richie does not want to fly. He's looking for another single to go with Donna. Richie's very excited. He's like, yo, La Bamba. And then he's like, no, I don't want to offend anybody. You know, it's weird how many years this was long ago, and we were still kind of feeling the ripples of that. And then I love what he says. He says, hey, Nat King Cole can sing in Spanish. So can I. Do y'all know Nat King Cole, kids?
Of course.
See? Okay, cool.
You know what's crazy? So that song, his version, the Rolling Stones, I forgot what year was published in the top 500 songs, and it was like the only Spanish one on there or something like that.
Oh, really? And it was, again, wow.
Yeah, don't quote me on exactly the year and stuff like that, but I remember reading that.
And this is one of those tiny things. It's like, and this is one of those things I really do appreciate about film, the power of film and books. Thinking about silence and reflecting and figuring out who you are. Guys, our culture is so beautiful. There's so many nice things to it. There's so much art and beauty to it. And yet, like, how long did it take for Eagle Pass, for people in Texas, at least, let's just say, to really awaken to and appreciate the Day of the Dead? You know, what did it take? It took an American corporation to tell the story for people to be aware of it and be like, oh, that's really nice. It is beautiful, man. That's great. And it's like, yo, that was you all along. You know, if you kind of paid attention, right? So I kind of take that as that whole Nat King Cole, like other people telling us or reminding us of the own beauty that we have. It's already there, guys. Okay, so here's Bob keeps spinning out of control. He's a total jerk here. Scares Connie, his mom, and Rosie. Throws a rock into the house. He's like, you always cared about Richie more than me. You had me turned in. Oh yeah, you had me turned in and locked up. Being a real jerk. At this point, slightly after, Richie starts performing in Philadelphia, where he gets broadcasts onto live TV. You know, Bob sees him while he's at seeing the television at the bar. And he continues just spiraling out of control. This is a part where gosh, it really hurts me as someone who really cares about people. I know he's really bad. He's a bad guy. I know, but he trashes his own studio. Like, I felt that. It's like, yo, it's spiraling down. I don't know. What did y'all feel about that? Do you guys ever feel so upset about your work that you really just want to give up your own stuff, or see?
Well, I've never gotten like frustrated to the point where it gets like physical, because that's just not me. But I do get really frustrated, especially when I'm making like music and stuff, especially when I'm making music for somebody else. Like if somebody wants me to make them an instrumental or something, and they're kind of like vague about what they want, and they just don't explain anything.
Yeah.
Like I remember one time this dude came up to me, or he didn't come up to me, he texted me, and he was like, "Can you like record guitar for me?" And I was like, "Sure." What kind of? He was like, "Can you make it watery?" And I was like, "Watery? It sounds water." And then
keep going.
it just kind of like, and then I remember it took me like 2 weeks, and I was like, maybe this is what he wanted, right? So I gave it to him, and he got really mad. Well, he didn't get mad, but he was just like, "What is this? Like, this is not what I want." And I was like, "You said watery."
As actors, as a director who works with actors, actors hate, what do they call that? The line reads or something. It's like, give it to me like this, and then when the directors is like micromanaging or something like that. Have you ever seen any of those experiences, Miss Sharon, or ever had a kind of be like, how do you communicate with actors to get them to behave or say or things, or like how do you make precise directions as to how your film you would like for it to work on set or in the pre-production?
A little bit of both. sorry, I don't even know if that's what you were asking, but
yeah.
So, in the pre-production, like I create backstories for each of the characters to study, and especially you were talking about how now it's like the digital age, and I had to get these kid actors I had to strip them of those digital age mannerisms, and was just like, like I don't
sure. Yeah, you don't do that here.
And I made them like Pinterest boards of the shows they would watch on a normal television set, and just kind of like get their headspace to know like where they're coming from, just their background. But then we would rehearse, and in rehearsal you find out a lot of stuff. But we didn't have that much rehearsal time for this particular film, since we had one of our actors flying in from one of them came from LA, and one of them had been like in Guadalajara at a dance school. So we had to just bring everyone in, and the week before started doing our last bit of rehearsing. And then like when we're on set, I mean, I like to really collaborate. So in the rehearsal process, I come in with my script, but as they're saying the words, I revise the words according to how they most naturally say it, so that it doesn't sound like,
forced or fake. Yeah, it's not a real conversation. Yeah, right. That is very hard to make it flow naturally. I got to head out.
Yeah.
Catch you later, Miranda. Sorry, she's taking off.
I'm sorry. I have to leave early, sir.
It's okay, Miranda. Nice having you.
You too, sir. Bye. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we're on set, then we already have a language established together. But on set, I never get to the point where I have to feed someone a line.
Yeah.
And like the actual script or the actual dialogue I wrote isn't as important to me as like getting the emotion across and getting the story across.
On the shot, seeing it, how it doesn't have to go exactly. So there's some wiggle room for some improv. Improv. There we go. Some improv.
In rehearsal.
In rehearsal. Okay.
I like how you said that though, trying to just get the emotion across, because I've been speaking with one of my friends and I asked them like, "Oh, do you remember that?" And they're like, "I don't remember what you said, but I remember how I felt about what you said."
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that speaks volumes, because I try to remember the words, but they just remember how they felt. And like trying to put that into film, that sounds pretty difficult, definitely.
Yeah, I forget who said this. I heard it on a podcast from a producer who did a lot of the films in like the 90s, I think. I'll see if I can look it up. But he says like, we are in the business of feelings. And like, that is definitely what this is, the medium of cinema. So.
Absolutely.
I remember taking a course that Pixar offered through Khan Academy called Pixar in a Box. And I remember sitting down and hearing everyone speak about it. And they're like, the best way for us to grab someone's attention and stick through this story is hanging on to relatability. Yeah. Something that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
Like together. Those experiences of, hardships and struggles, coming back to your own memories and your own stories to get people emotionally invested.
Absolutely. As a teacher, and Dean knows this and Alyssa knows this because they've been out of the game from here several years ago. But you can attest to this, and this is what I always aim for. Just like you said, people will remember, and I really have this at heart, how you made them feel. They won't remember what you said academically. And so I have a very clear idea. It's like, I got to make it very nurturing, safe environment open for creativity, open for constructive criticism, and open for people for experimentation to figure themselves out, to figure out how to tell a good story. And I try very hard to make sure that they feel safe and unconditionally, loved, so that they can actually perform good. Because if they don't, they won't you get this risk aversion from kids, and and I don't think you remember everything I said, right, Alyssa or Dean, but you remember how it made you feel.
Definitely.
I love that. Okay, so it says here, So Richie finally purchases the house for his mom. You see the resentment from Bob as they are showing the house around. Oh, Bob. Richie then performs. I guess the thing about Bob is like he's a complicated character because he really does love his brother. You could tell he really does, but he also slightly is jealous, right? So anyway,
slightly.
Richie performs in New York City, in New York, right after Jackie Wilson. He performs a Bamba while at New York, and people are feeling it. They're dancing all over the place. They're going over the fences, that or little barriers that they have. It was a smashing success. Dancing is one of those few things that I love seeing in film, and I love going to, and I think it's one of the biggest experiences as a person from the border. Quinceañeras, weddings, and stuff like that. The music it's very tribal, right? We dance in a circle, una cumbia, and I don't know. It's one of the best ways of sharing a moment with people, and I cannot wait till COVID goes away and we could have that experience again. That is one of my favorite ones. So I love seeing all the people dancing and feeling La Bamba. It says here, there's a welcome home party for Richie once he returns, and Bob and Richie have a heated discussion, and then that's where they make amends towards the end, and then Richie wants for Bob to meet him in Chicago, even though they had a scuffle. And that kind of more or less does it. Is there anything that I might have missed or that you guys want to talk about that kind of stood out for you, Alyssa or Dean or anyone in this point about either films, Plain Pretend or
Wait, I have a thing about both.
Awesome.
Going back to Plain Pretend, I really related to the chemistry between the brothers, especially at the beginning when they're like pretending to be planes, and then when they called when they said she looked like Doña Florinda, I really related to that because like growing up with my brother in Mexico, plus we didn't really have any I didn't have my first phone until like 7th grade or something like that, which is like whatever, it's whatever. I don't really use my phone that much right now. But growing up with my brother, like with no internet or with no electricity and stuff, well, there was electricity, not good. I mean, with no electronics, we would watch like a lot of Chabelo, and we would watch a lot of like Pepito and stuff like that. And we would just like run around pretending to be stuff. I just really related to that, like that little detail. But that's what I've been like thinking about like over and over since I saw that. And then going back to the live music and film. This is like completely like kind of unrelated, but what you said right now when you sing like a live band in like a film, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Green Room, but there's this one scene. It's about a punk band, right? Like a local punk band or something. And there's this one scene where they were playing at a diner, and the diner is just full of like old people trying to eat their breakfast, and they're a punk band like thrashing in the corner. It's like he showed me, Mr. Sanchez showed me,
he
playing at Denny's.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same thing, but and I was like, I can see that happening to like my band or stuff like it's just like so realistic. Yeah,
that happened in La Bamba where he was at the country place, and they're like, "Turn the jukebox back on" and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really fun to see that.
I loved seeing. Speaking about strong moms and the connectedness in the family is when Connie. She's this is a funny part about Bob too, where she's doing the posters, she's getting the word out. The rent money went into to renting the American Legion. I remember having that and locally and seeing it, and she's like, she shows the posters. They have all the kids there, and she's painting posters to try to spread the word. And then Bob's can't keep his stupid mouth shut. Sorry, Bobby. And then he's like, "Oh, these look horrible," And then later on, again, because he does love his brother, Richie's asleep, and he's like, I should have kept my mouth shut painting. And then later on, of course, he goes on. They have a blast. Richie looks amazing. Miss Connie's making enough money to pay the rent. She's like, hey, we should do this more often. That really hit home for me too, because I remember going to a couple of events at our local American Legion area too. I thought that was sweet. That's so funny, Leo. How you doing today, Denny's? Well, I guess we should wrap it up. We're slightly a little bit over. Before we finish, I two things I want to do. One thing is a little bit slightly off, but the other one is the thing we usually do. But so one more time, Miss Sharon Arteaga, if you guys thought that this conversation was cool, or are more curious about the film, or would like to have more information or find ways of connecting or seeing more of her work, it should be here. again, subtle flex, very proud, very cool to be associated in any way, shape, or form. But thank you so much, Miss Sharon Arteaga, for taking the time, for talking, and for being here. It's very awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having
me. And now the other thing that we usually do, and this is kind of like a tradition now, as ugly as things can be, or how people can feel, and how isolated we are. We kind of try to share something that's kind of fun, exciting, something you're looking forward to, something that gave you hope, or anything that's just kind of making you feel good, and just sharing that it's kind of nice to just listen to everyone. I'll go first, so not put anyone on the spot. I am continually thanking the good Lord and the universe for putting my life to share paths with you guys. No one has to be here. I'm not giving any extra credit. There's no reason to be here, and yet people are showing up. We're talking about art. We're sharing a moment. We're, a film. Y'all have very awesome answers and responses, and I think it's really good because it helps us learn more about each other. I look forward to these events. I have to work very hard for them, but after I do them, and while I do them, and afterwards, and before, and everything in between, it's a lot of excitement, and listening to you guys and seeing y'all talk so well, it gives me hope. So thank you guys for sharing this moment with me. Anyway, Dean.
I guess I can start with through my position here at Texas Tech, at least my job, I've actually been able to connect with my culture a little bit more, like that Chicano kind of feeling of it, because one of the main things of Texas Tech is that I think it's like 10%, which is like 7,000 students are actually Hispanic. And then within that, we actually have I think it's a couple hundred of the DACA recipients. And with my department specifically, I'm actually helping those students out, the first generation college students. And a lot of those are Hispanic. And then of course that DACA recipient. So it's like,
proud of you.
Usually when I was going into this position, I was kind of thinking I'm just going to be, doing these things on Instagram, kind of doing the social media thing, but it's actually given me an eye into my culture from a different perspective I didn't have before, because to be honest, I didn't think about those things. So through this job, I've been able to learn a lot more things, and I'm really excited for that, especially this month, because we actually have a couple more events directly related to that. So I'm excited for that for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I'm very proud of you, Dean. I'm how awesome that your job has so much meaning. That's really good. Saldivar.
Well, I appreciate the fact that I get to meet new people, because I hadn't met Alyssa or Dean before, and I hadn't met. Obviously, I've never met Miss Arteaga before. I mean, we were in the call with the watch party, but that was the first time. Was I'd actually met a film director that won awards and stuff. So it's a great pleasure to meet you all, and it's a great pleasure to to see your perspective on things and see your appreciation for art, because I struggle to find a lot of people like that, especially the kind of art that I'm in, punk stuff. There's not a lot of punk people here in Eagle Pass, or people that are just appreciative that much of art and stuff like that. So it's really nice to talk to people about this kind of thing. So thank you.
I love that. And we get to see even though we're very far away and we're all across the state, literally, we're kind of compressed, and we're able to provide a cool community for kids. Fantastic. Alyssa?
Okay. I am glad that I get to continue my education here while having the support of people back home. Even though everything's online. Yeah. Even though everything's online, I'm happy to be doing this. And Sunday, I'm happy to meet you too. I'm happy to meet new people.
I love that. Oh man, you guys give me so much hope. Oh, you have no idea how much I get from this. I go back to Monday, I'm gonna be all loud and strong and excited. Oh man, you're lovely.
Alyssa, you're living in Austin? Is that what I heard?
Yes, I'm at UT Austin right now.
Oh, nice. Are you an RTF or?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. We should
third or fourth year, ma'am.
Fourth.
Y'all could. Maybe there could be a collaboration somewhere.
Oh, we should connect, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yay. Win. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Oh, that's great. Casas? Oh my goodness.
I appreciate that we all came together simply because of our love for film. I understand that many of y'all are in the program. You like making movies. Ms. Arteaga, I know Dean. Y'all have the same interests. and that's the same thing I have interest in. I want to be a director myself, so being able to see how y'all express your love for movie and you express your art through the film, that's wonderful, and that's something that I acknowledge and that I would like to do myself.
I love that. I love that you guys get to radiate that energy, and it's like it has an exponential effect where a lot of people are like, hey, this, I feel the love, I feel the energy, and oh, that's so cool. Miss Sayra?
After 9 whole years of waiting and trying and sitting there, my family can finally say that we have security in this country.
Yes, congratulations, Sayra.
Thank you.
I'm so happy. I love it. So connected to the Plain Pretend too story. Miss Sharon?
I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry.
Well, you almost made me cry earlier, Sayra, so you might as well finish the job. No, I'm so grateful for being here with y'all. Like, I might cry actually. Just, 15, I guess, well, a little more than 15 years after being in high school, to be able to share, because I was at that age where I was just like, I have no idea how I'm going to make this happen for myself. But I figured it out like day by day somehow, But I feel very grateful to learn about y'all's stories and like Sayra, who made me cry. I hadn't heard someone talk about connecting on that level with Plain Pretend, like in that specific scene, and it was just great to hear how each of you connected with it differently. Because my main goal is to like bridge, I don't know, like to have maybe Latinx youth see themselves in these stories, but at the same time, like have people who are not from our culture see us and themselves within us, so that there's more of a bridge of understanding between ourselves. So. But anyway, I'm grateful to be here. So happy to see like myself and y'all, kind of.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're providing a lot of context for us and for others, and that's how we build bridges. We're building bridges of understanding. And it's like, oh, I didn't know, and it's like from one side to the other, it doesn't matter, and gosh, how do you end that? How do you, gosh, it's so nice. Again, Mrs. Arteaga, I am very, very excited to have had the chance to talk to you. The possible chance of getting Miss Alyssa to connect with you as well, since she's actually over there and she is very, very trained and educated and a good help. And so, gosh, I guess that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it, and then we'll say goodbyes in a second, okay? But I'll go ahead and stop here recording.